What's up, guys? I got another performance review. The subject is going to be the Adidas Real Deal Retro. This is a model out of the mid '90s Adidas model or line of shoes that were famously called the feet you wear line. The reason they were called that is because the sole and midsole of the shoe were designed to be anatomically correct and mimic what would be as close to playing basketball in a supportive barefoot type setup. Um, so that's kind of why they have that feet you wear name. They were, they had a big cult following amongst a lot of people who liked them, and I've been hearing a lot of stuff about them, so I figured, give them a shot and see how they were. Starting off with the soles, it's kind of hard to miss these things. They've got those really crazy rounded edges to them, so herringbone traction on the bottom of the shoe. No issues there, of course. Um, Now, I'd say again, I play outdoors, so having said that, no issues on the traction. I don't see any problems playing with these indoors. The rubber is a little bit more dense. It's a little bit more firm, so that kind of makes it a good candidate for outdoor use. For me personally, I feel like this rubber is probably going to last longer outdoors than some of the softer rubber that's used on a lot of the newer model shoes that are out there. Now moving on to the midsole cushioning of the shoe. It's a very minimalist cushioning setup compared to a lot of like air cushions or foam cushions that are out there these days. These are designed to provide you with enough padding to play, but still like move, naturally, like your foot would if you I guess you were playing barefoot. You've got mostly an EVA compressed foam cushion. I think Adidas has another type of foam that they use called Adiprene. I don't know if you can see that there. I'm not really exactly sure of the placement of that Adiprene foam in these. I believe it's in the heel and possibly in the forefoot. I'm not exactly sure. Tech specs on some of the older Adidas models are kind of hard to find, so I'm not really sure on that. But the cushioning to me, it's a lot different. I'm used to playing in some really plush cushioning, and I've also been alternating between these and the other shoes that I reviewed recently, the Under Armour Micro G Torch, which are like night and day to these. These are very kind of firm. They're firm and protective, whereas the torches are soft and bouncy. So it was a stark contrast. If you prefer a firmer cushioning unit or setup, these would be fine for you. It's all foam, so it's going to be pretty easy on your joints. No issues there. I feel like this foam is probably a little bit denser than some of the other foams that are used, so it'll probably last longer too. Moving on to the fit and on the uppers of the shoe. The fit on these was kind of weird. I had read online, after being advised by a few people that these run big, and also because of the design of the anatomically correct sole, these are supposed to be shoes that are designed to fit your feet really close. So having read that and done the research, I went a size down in these. I went to a size 10. I'm usually a 10.5. The fit was perfect. 10.5 would have been way too big. It would have probably had too much room in the toe box, too much room in the heel. I probably would have had slippage issues in the heel. It would have been a really sloppy fit. So I'm glad I went with a 10 instead of a 10.5. The materials of the shoe, of course, the upper is mostly synthetic nubuck material. You've also got, I'm not sure if this is, what type of leather. I think this is actually like 3M on here on this red part. And then you've got some overlay or underlays under here of actual leather. The upper does need to get broken in. Like with a lot of 90s models that use raw materials like leather and things like that, you do have to break in the uppers. That is going to expand and things like that, as opposed to a synthetic like a Hyperfuse, which is going to last longer, but it's not going to break in as easy. And it's also more durable. So these raw material shoes from the 90s are nice because it's a good change of pace. It's the stuff that I grew up playing in, so newer guys or people that are used to synthetics on shoes might like these just to kind of try and see, something different. It's a throwback, it's a retro. Another big feature of the shoe you'll probably see is the anatomical lacing. The lacing system starts up here and it kind of wraps down the side of down towards the interior of the shoe on the medial side. I didn't have any problems with the laces, lacing them up all the way. The shoes had no lace pressure whatsoever. The inside of the shoe is nice and thickly padded. No issues there. Lockdown on these was really good. The form fitting, contours of the shoe, they really kind of, snug, had a brain fart there. They really kind of, snugly fit your foot with the uppers once they're tied on. It also allows the upper to bend and flex with your foot. The only issue that I had with these, the area, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it here, but the area where the shoe flexes, right here, it bends inward, and on the inside of the shoe, on this shoe only, it didn't happen on my right shoe, there was a flex point on the inside of the shoe, like right in here, where it did kind of come to a point and it did dig into my foot a little bit and gave me a blister. I actually took some tape, some athletic tape, put that over the flex point, plated them again, and I didn't have that problem anymore. I haven't heard about anybody else having that issue. It's probably just how my feet are shaped. I've got kind of flat feet, so another thing I did notice when I was playing in them, it took about 30 to 45 minutes for my feet to get used to the arch in this shoe. Even though it's just foam, just the way it's built, it's very different. You've got that rubber there in the middle, so it took me a little while to get used to it. Once my feet heated up and I compressed the soles enough, I didn't really have too much of an issue. Ventilation on this shoe is nearly non-existent. Like many 90s models, you've got a mesh tongue and that's it. So not a great shoe if you require a good amount of ventilation, but if you don't really have that as a high priority, as long as you fit, I think as long as you have the lockdown and you don't have any sliding issues inside the shoe where you get blisters, it shouldn't be that big of a problem. These had really good lockdown, no sliding or slipping inside the shoe at all. When you're running, it does take, when I first put them on and played them, it does take, because they're very non-traditional. You've got the segmented heel, the forefoot here, it's really different. The pods in these things, it feels a little weird at first, but once you get used to it, it does make movements and things like that feel much more natural. The shoes look really clunky and bulky. They're not the lightest shoe in the world, but they're also not the heaviest, and they play a lot smoother than they look. They also play lighter than they look. I was really able to stay on the balls of my toes and, come off screens and, curls and, make a lot of like rapid, direction changes and things like that in them pretty, naturally, so that's good. They're doing their job, which is they're designed to mimic natural movements. Stability of the shoe is really good. Support is going to come from the overall fit of the shoe and how it's built. I didn't have any stability issues at all, even though you've got an internal heel cup. The midsole actually provides the majority of the support. The midsole wraps all the way up here on the medial side, providing support here. It also wraps up along here, wraps around here, and provides a lateral wall, for stability there. I didn't feel any support issues at all. I thought with looking at the shoe, I thought the upper was going to be a lot softer than what it was. It's not. The upper is definitely firm enough to give you enough support. There's a very versatile shoe. The player that actually wore these when they first came out in the mid-90s was Antoine Walker. Anybody who knows who Antoine Walker was knows he was a versatile point forward. He was a bigger guy, but he played like a guard. So these are a really versatile shoe. Lighter weight guards would really appreciate the sure-footedness and the stability and the smooth transition that the shoe has, and how they play. They play quicker than what they look. So big guys that are very nimble-footed or inside-out players like Walker was, you'd appreciate these too. Very overall, all-around, good performing shoe. It didn't really blow me away in any particular areas. Honestly, I think that just the idea of it and the looks on the shoe, make it a standout. It doesn't really affect the performance so much, but I like the shoe just because it's a really different concept and it's a really different look. It's just something you don't see very often. So, but all the things that make it different looking, they actually play into the function of the shoe, so that's good too. I don't like anything that's just looks a certain way to look a certain way. I like it to have a reason behind it, and these definitely have a reason behind everything on the shoe. If I had to give these a score, I would give them probably a 7.5 out of 10, only because the cushioning is minimal. It's not. They're not as responsive as I like my cushioning shoes to be. It's just a personal preference. It didn't really affect the overall performance of the shoe. It's just a preference on my part. I prefer cushioning to be a little bit more responsive. Maybe it's just because it's what I'm used to, but I don't hold it against the shoe. The cushioning does its job. It's just a different material and a different feel. Very good all-around performers. You can find these pretty cheap some places. I got these off Eastbay, I think, for like $69 with free shipping. So not a bad price at all for something that that gives you a little bit more of an approach to the game, and something that's a little bit different. If you're wanting to step outside of your box, this is the first pair of Adidas shoes I've had in probably 10 years. So I've been wanting to step outside the box, try some different things, and this is definitely one of those things. Good performing shoe. Give them a shot, and let me know how it goes. Remember, guys, they're basketball shoes. They're not trophies. Play ball in them. Play some ball, have some fun, and let me know what you think.